when 2020 came, it was a complete rerouting and redirecting of my life. And all of a sudden, everything, all these things that I was interested in and all these things I was knowledgeable on started to make sense. And to be honest, it was a precursor to circumstantial saint. It's probably what helps me find circumstantial saint within me, was realizing that I have all these um, thoughts about the world that I feel like people needed to hear. But also the things that I went through in 2020 and 2021, being involved in this movement, uh, definitely affected me in a number of different ways. And to maneuver through that, I sought to heal. I sought to do inner child work and work on myself and really understand where I am in the present and where I want to go with all the things I've learned and accomplished and figured out about myself within the past few years.
So explain that working on your inner child a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. So circumstantial saint really talks about duality and inner child work and shadow work. So with your inner child, it can be the person when you're a kid, uh, we like to color outside the lines. We like to pretend or imagine, but I think doctors have found out that you're in a hypnotic stance when you're a kid in your adolescent years, that you're imagining everything. That's how you view the world. When we go through public schooling, that one by one, bit by bit, it gets etched off.
Yeah.
Yes. And so you lose track of parts of yourself that I feel like we always need to connect to understand how we're taking things in well into our adulthood and old age. And so with inner child work, it can be it's very hard. It's very dark. It's not rainbows and unicorns, as people like to say. Oh, you're a spiritual person, you claim to be spiritual, you must be really like calm and zen. And no, it's not about that. It's about challenging yourself. It's about looking yourself in the mirror, holding yourself accountable and saying, what did I do wrong? What did I cause in the situation with other people and to myself, and how I've affected myself? uh, I'm very open about my life. I was molested as a child. I've been raped before. So things like that have an effect on your being and how you end up growing up, how you
interact with other people.
Exactly, how you are interacting in relationships as well.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. And for example, and this is the best way I can explain inner child work to people, is like when you're in a relationship with someone, that is a direct line from the way that your parents treated you and the way that their parents treated them. And so when we talk about like generational trauma, we're soaking up all these things that are inherently in us. It's made from us, but it doesn't mean that we can't grow from that and help grow out of that, and to make sure that we're not perpetuating that to future generations.
For example, my I'm kind of open about this too. My dad was a alcoholic drinker, very abusive. Mm-hmm. What I take from that is I could have done the exact same thing and gone to the bar and wallowed in my swallows. Right. And been this angry person who had all this resentment for my father. Granted, I wasn't. Thankfully, my mother didn't raise me up like that. Right. Nothing to my dad, to be honest. But that's the same line. It doesn't matter how you were raised up to be, because these things are like, well, my dad, you get to forget about my mother's death. Maybe I should do it too.
Right.
Maybe I should do. Everyone else, especially surrounded. Not to like dump on the musicians around here, but I should drink and to partake in that. It's so easy just to fall into these traps of well, my dad did it, but you can stay rooted in yourself and say, no, I'm not going to do it because that's what my dad was like, and that's probably how I would how I would be like, and I do not want to subject myself to those things. I don't want to subject my children to those things, and I don't want to subject other people to that as well.
And then also we have to remember to not. It's about not placing blame on anyone else that contributed to how you grew up or your situation.
Right, I don't blame my dad for that.
Right,
because that's the way he grew up. That's,
exactly. That's his line. And
that's his line. Right. His dad took him out for his first drink, and it was a cultural thing. Like it is. A dad takes a son out to a drink and to share a beer. That's one of the American cultural manlyisms. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just the abuse of it,
right.
in which my dad tended to do. And but he's, I can dwell on that, or I can dwell on the fact that he's 6 years sober and he's doing a lot better now.
That's awesome.
So it's all a choice of what to dwell on.
Yes. And it also is about perception too.
Right.
Because what one person may see as one way, you may see a completely different thing. And it doesn't mean that one person's invalid and one person's valid. We all have our own truths. Inner child work is a matter of finding your own truth within you, while also holding yourself accountable, but not being hard on yourself at the same time. I always say all the time, give grace and be kind to yourself first and foremost, because it's your life. You're in these shoes. People can tell you anything they want. At the end of the day, it's your life.
This harkens back to a conversation we found on the podcast before, is to define success for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Don't let anyone tell you that you need to get this many streams, and this is in relation to musicians, but even everyday life. Don't say, because sometimes waking up is the hardest thing you can ever do. Getting out of bed, getting in the shower,
yes,
getting dressed.
Yes.
Sometimes that can be painful.
Yes.
And it's hard. And if that's all you do for today, that's okay. That's okay.
Yes.
A lot of people didn't do that.
Exactly.
And guess what? You can always make the goal of doing more next day.
Mm-hmm.
And just because you have a bad morning, a bad afternoon, a bad hour, doesn't mean you're gonna have a bad day.
I love talking about that because, and there's a saying like, did you have just a bad moment, or was it a bad moment that you milked all day?
Yeah.
I take that to heart, and I think about that all the time. If I'm like, I'm having a bad day, I rephrase it. I always stop myself and rephrase it and say, I'm having a moment, but I'm going to end today on a good note, or I'm going to find something good out of the day to think about and make sure that I had something positive today too, to balance that. And then another thing I try to be mindful of and tell people is, especially when I'm talking about circumstantial saint and what it stands for, is there is no good or bad. It's only experience. It's how you look at it. But at the end of the day, if you're looking at something as good, that means you understand what bad is. And that doesn't mean that bad is bad. It's just the other side of it to make you understand what is what.
Without happiness, there's no sadness. Without sadness, there's no happiness. You gotta have both to have a full life. If you never knew happiness, if you never knew sadness, you wouldn't be able to experience what happiness, what deep. You have to have the good things and you have to have the bad things to have a full experience life.
Yes.
You're gonna deal with death. You're gonna deal with depression. You're gonna deal with anxiety. You're gonna deal with rejection. You're gonna deal with all of these things. It's not. Don't hide from it.
Right.
Don't try to escape it.
Right.
It's not gonna happen.
I try to tell people actually lean into it.
Oh yeah,
because
for sure.
if you lean into it and you feel that emotion as you're going through it, you're not prolonging it.
And you're gonna become stronger.
Yes.
The next time you approach it, it's not gonna be as hard. It's just gonna be okay. I'm going through this. It's gonna go by, but it's gonna suck right now.
Yes.
And I'm gonna deal with this.
Yes.
The longer you don't deal with these things, the longer it's gonna deal with you.
Yep.
That's
yep.
Cool.
It is so true. And I try to all these little gems we're spitting are things that I've talked about in one song or throughout different songs or throughout albums. And I like to keep. Let's say I grew up in the 90s and 2000s where we were still heavy on conceptual albums, so it rubs off on me. I can't help but do that. Like I've tried to do singles and EPs and short things, but it's just not me. Like this new album is 22 tracks technically.
It's a double album.
I am actually thinking about putting it into 2 parts. I haven't submitted it yet. So I'm thinking about maybe breaking it into 2 11-track albums and putting it out together though. But giving people a chance to like eat at it the way that they want to, instead of just like boom, 22 tracks, because I've done 22, 23-track albums.
That's ridiculous.
I can't help it. I can't help it. The process is like, it's just a never-ending process for me. As soon as there's no cutoff point, I make myself cut off things because I'm constantly just making new songs. I get an idea, and sometimes I'll just turn out 3-4 songs in a night because I just have these immense ideas.
Not to like harp on this, but like these songs are something that's 5 minutes long.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
He's like, yeah, that's me.
I try to have some diversity. I'm not gonna lie. So like I do a lot of interludes that might be like 1 or 2 minutes. I'll have some songs that are like 2.5 minutes, but then I hear them and I'm like, wow, like this is just enough, but I need more.
Right.
So that's why I try to do 3 minute songs and it just doesn't work. But I try to go off of the way my poetry is though. So if I have like just a short poem, I'll try to make it into a 2-3 minute song. But a lot of my poems are more like stories that I'm just spitting all this stuff out. And so they end up being the 5 and 6 minute songs. But I've learned to sit in me. Like, what is circumstantial saint? Look, I'm the kind of person that's going to give you 5, 6, 7 minute songs sometimes, but you're going to appreciate it if you actually sit and listen.
And that's another conversation to have is how to listen to music, because a lot of times we just like, this has been another conversation on the podcast, it's gratification culture that we live in, and the amount of how we can't listen to a song unless in the 30 seconds that we give it, it hooks us.
Yeah. Okay, that's something that really gets under my skin. As an artist, as an all-around artist, as a creator, I've learned for myself to let that go and tune it out, because I feel like there are people out there that really still do want to engage.
Oh yeah, of course.
And I want to appeal to those people. If you're that instant gratification person and you can't listen to a 22-track album, don't listen to my album. Buy one song, listen to one song. I've got tons of singles out there, you know what I mean, that I don't like. I might put, like, for example, I'm Not a Rapper, I'm a Poet is its own single, but it's on the album as well, but it's a different version than what you're going to get from that one song. So I do things to appeal to everyone, but at the same time, what you get is what you get too.
No, that's great, especially as an artist to know that this is who I am. If you don't like that, fine, that's okay. And, well, it's not even like that harsh either.
And it's not in a harsh way.
It's not a harsh
right.
way. It's not, that's not harsh for me. But it's not. You can just say, listen, I know this is not for you, and I'm sorry that's not what it is, but I'm not gonna force myself to accommodate to you.
Nope.
And this like goes back to the defining success for yourself. Define your song your way.
Right.
And service the song. So that song is not gonna do what it should do for other people as it's going to do for other people. The song is going to hit certain ways. I know people who love Bruno Mars. I know people who absolutely hate Bruno Mars, right, and that's okay.
I've learned that, and this is what I started to realize, like, Circumstantial Saint in my music is all the music that I've never heard, but I've wanted to hear from someone. So I went and started making the music that I've never heard myself. So that's what helps me sit in my own and say, I don't care if someone doesn't like this, because I like it and this is what I've never heard, but it's what I want. And I know that somebody somewhere out there probably wants this or something similar. I'm cool with that.
There's 8 billion people in this world. Someone's going to like your music.
Exactly. And I get enough feedback that keeps me, I can die happy. For real.
Let's talk about I'm Not a Rapper, I'm a Poet.
Yes. That song's actually a funny one because it's the second song that I freestyled kind of on accident. It wasn't like I sat down and said, we're going to freestyle, we're going to make a song and freestyle. I was with another amazing poet of mine, a friend of mine's named Pan, and we were getting ready to go to a poetry event, but we wanted to vibe and see if we can come up with a collab. So I'm like, let me just throw some music on and let's just vibe. Actually, I did it a cappella. I was like, let's just vibe. And she's like, I don't know. So I would spit some stuff and then I let her go. And she's just like, man, this ain't for me. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna just keep going. So when she left, I sat down and was like, wow, this is something. Like, I need to put this in something. And so I literally just made the beat right there and threw those lyrics right on top of it. Like it was boom, boom, simple as that. And sometimes it just works out that way. Like some of my songs have just been spur of the moment. And I'm just like, wow, this is something right here. And that literally is just a freestyle.
Well, let's take a listen to. I'm not a rapper. I'm a poet. What do you think? You know, fun?
Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
I actually shot this video in Philly.
Oh, you have a video, man?
Yes,
Oh,
I have.
I'm gonna put it on there.
I'm so sorry. I got like 50 all on YouTube. I got like 50 some music videos. So yeah, any single I release now, there's a music video for it.
Yeah, I have Protected or Wrinkles. The other one you sent me.
They both have music videos too. Yeah.
I'll see if I can pull them up. It's very much like EDM tribal.
Yes, exactly. When I made the beat, I was like, this sounds like I just randomly name my beats whatever words come to me, and it's always 2 words, right? Matrix Underground.
Matrix Underground.
That's what I think of when I hear this beat. Like it reminded me of the Matrix. When you say tribal EDM, that's exactly what I think of too.
Oh, you laugh at
Oh yeah, YouTube, yep.
Because to me, it's all about the trend. The lack is what you need to see within you. I don't oppose.
Right there, yes.
Because they are risks to take. When you find what is within, you still can't take the risk. So,
So diverse because I have such a wide range in taste. But EDM, house, club music, that's my language of love. That's how I speak in general. And literally that was the first track that ended up being for this new album. I intended my last album was called I Speak.
Yes.
So I intended for I'm not a rapper, I'm a poet to be on like the deluxe version. But when I started, that was like, all right, this is an EDM track, and I feel like I did really good with this. Let me make some more. So I had made like Rise Against the System, Fantasy, and I was like, wow, this is a different sound and direction than I Speak, and it can't be a deluxe. It needs to be its own album. So that's kind of where it started.
So, how do you come up with like 16 albums and you got 12 EPs? You got so many other things going on within a year.
Yeah.
If anybody else had done that, it would have been like it's insane.
So
and you not only that, but you also run your own media company and do several other things. Yeah. How do you balance all that?
I'll sleep when I die. I mean, I'm single. I don't have kids. So, and this is like my duty. I feel like, but that is my thing. Like, I'll sleep when I die. I just want to do as much as I can while I'm on this earth, and also making up for lost time. Like I spent a lot of time not knowing what I wanted to do with my life, and now I know exactly what I want to do and pretty much how I want to do it. It's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't change it for the world. Seriously, I love where I'm at. I like doing my best to be present because I could go tomorrow and I have this thing where, so Tupac, over like the 7 years that he recorded music, I think he had like 1,500 songs or something like that. I want to do